We're talking with Christine Marcks from Prudential. Christine, what trends have you seen over the 10 years since the Pension Protection Act was approved?
We've seen more employers adopt automatic enrollment for their employees so that they automatically enroll them in the plan typically at a contribution rate of somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4%. We've seen more employers in the last few years also trigger contribution escalation. They increase the contribution to the plan by roughly 1% of pay every year, which is very much in the interest of the employee. And then we've also seen them use what we call qualified default investment alternatives, QDIAs, things like target date funds, asset allocation models, so that people are now better diversified from a investment risk standpoint than they were. Those are really the major trends that we've seen.
And the average automatic or default contribution is 3%.
Mm-hmm.
You say 12 to 15% is ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that plausible for the average worker?
Well, it's the 12 to 15 includes what the employer might contribute, so that's not all necessarily coming out of the employee's pocket. But I think the important thing to do is to think about, I'll say, legging into it. So it's not right out of the gate. The studies that we've seen that have higher default rates than 3% are interesting in that we don't see a much larger percentage of people opting out even though they're being defaulted at higher rates. That tells me that they feel like the discipline of saving is good for them. And so we'll continue to monitor that, but getting them on that path is important.
Half of workers don't have access to retirement plans. What are the demographics of those who are left behind?
Well, this is a particularly significant problem for small businesses, and small businesses employ a large proportion of women, people of color, Latinos, African Americans, Asians. So it's the underserved population to some extent that is most impacted by the lack of access to these employer-sponsored plans.
And is there a solution or two in the works that people can turn to?
Yeah, we are very encouraged by the bipartisan support for an option that we call multiple employer plans, which exists today in one structure. There are some legislative tweaks needed to make them, to broaden them out to be available to small employers, but they bring a lot of the same kinds of benefits that employees of large employers get to employees of small employers. There are other more individualized solutions, but they don't have the same economies of scale, I'll say, the benefits of group pricing and the benefits of broad fiduciary oversight.
And what are the 5 behavioral challenges to saving for financial security?
Oh, I'll see if I can. They are what we call longevity disconnect, people not recognizing just how long they're going to live. Optimism bias, people thinking that bad things only happen to somebody else. We call the I just want it now behavior, which is impulse buying, an overreaction, an overly aggressive emotional reaction where they feel like they've got to take action right away if the market goes up or the market goes down is where we see that. And procrastination, which is, inertia is a very powerful force, and people don't take steps to make good financial decisions in a timely basis.
And then final question, the longevity disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so hard for people to see their future selves?
It's hard for them to see their future selves because it's related to how the brain is wired. People actually think of themselves 30 or years hence as a stranger. A different part of the brain lights up. The same part of the brain that thinks of a stranger is what lights up when you talk to somebody about what they're going to look like in retirement. And so that's what gets in the way of people. You wouldn't be saving for a stranger necessarily. So we try and make that stranger very real to them by using visualization technology. They can relate to that future self, and that gets them thinking harder and actually taking action to save for that.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Sure.